everyone. This is John with the Team Whole Priority Podcast, and we're bringing you with the third episode, and we're going to be talking about three main topics today. We're going to be talking about SCG Milwaukee, the metagame breakdown, and then we're going to talk about our tournament report because we had a bunch of people coming up to Milwaukee to play. It was super fun. And then our final thing we're going to talk to today is a deck that Greg and I both played. And it was Red, White, Burn, and why we chose it, the deck tech about the deck.
Ways we built it.
And why we built it. So, I have three co-hosts this time. So, why don't you introduce yourselves?
I'm Greg.
I'm Darian.
I'm Cole.
Alright, so, first, we're going to talk about the SCG Milwaukee breakdown, Day 2 breakdown. We have 71 decks in Day 2. You had to have a 7-2 record and be tied with 64. So that's why we got 71 players. We had 11 Dredge, 11 Burn, 8 Infect, 4 Affinity, 3 Bant Eldrazi, 3 Jund, 3 Elves, 2 Ad Nauseam, Zoo Abzan, Scapeshift, Lantern, and 1 lone Bant Spirits player.
There was actually 2.
Oh,
sorry.
Who can it possibly?
There's supposed to be 2 of each. So 2 Ad Nauseam, 2 Zoo, 2 Abzan, 2 Scapeshift, 2 Lantern, and 2 Bant Spirits.
And the bands, I think they probably had to be friends, too.
Right.
Yeah.
And there was a slew of 1-of decks as well that I just didn't delve into.
Sure, there was one Grixis Delverna for sure. And
Yeah.
There's some random other things,
Which
but
Kiki Cord, yeah.
I think there was 1 Lantern. I think
Lanterns.
two
Two
Lanterns. You
Lanterns.
guys said that. Okay.
so
I played both of them.
So when we look at this breakdown, what we can see is the retreat of the mid-range and control. It's very odd that I would consider Bant to be pretty mid-rangey, especially since they got pass and
it's basically just a big
Displacers.
zoo deck
Yeah.
with extremely resilient threats.
So they can control the board a little bit, especially in creature-on-creature matchups. Jund, is always a solid mid-rangey deck, but basically no Jeskai. It was all about
Absolutely unheard of. I didn't see a single one.
it absolutely was about Dredge. It was absolutely about Burn and Infect, sort of kill you.
Well, there was the Jeskai Flash deck that
Made
made
top
top
eight,
8.
sure.
But as far as it goes, yeah, it was definitely
Did it play Nahiri?
No, it was
No, just like Spellqueller.
So yeah, I'll go into it a little bit later, but it was Spellqueller and just flash creatures with Celestial Colonnade.
Even with the name though, it's playing creatures.
Right.
It's creatures with flash.
I would say
Flash.
it's more of a tempo deck than
Sure.
a hard control deck as well.
Yep.
And so we had a couple thoughts about this. First is Dredge. The only thing it really got was Cathartic Reunion, and basically a common it reads as additional costs. You may discard 2 cards and you draw 3 cards. Of strictly better Tormenting Voice. And did that really put it over the top? I'm not quite sure.
Well, there were people, at least as far as I can tell, people are even playing Simian Spirit Guide now in Dredge just so you can cast it quicker.
Yeah.
Because if you can Dredge 18 by turn 2, then you're probably going to beat most decks unless they just slam a Rest in Peace immediately after. So, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Dredge has been putting up a lot of results recently. I think, I'm not sure exactly what SCG tournament it was. Ross Miriam had a pretty good run with it there. There were a lot of the SCG regulars that had a pretty good run with it, and then Cathartic Reunion came out and just kind of gave the entire deck a shot in the arm, which was probably unnecessary, but also probably a little too late in the R&D
Development cycle.
to do anything about it. That being said, Golgari Grave Troll is a very anemic card. It's just, Dredge 6, that's a drawback, right? No.
Sometimes you may hardcast it and it'd be a 5-mana 1/1.
A 5-mana 1/1. I played against a 5-mana 1/1 today.
It got Searing Blaze.
I Searing Blazed it.
But For me, I'm not quite sure. There's not that many big events, so I didn't really get to see. I didn't actually play Dredge. I don't get to play it that often. We actually have a couple of local players picking up the decks, but their results have been very mixed. Like, we had one who got in the top 4 at our local, like, Magic Weekly, but a bunch of the pilots just got, like, trolled on and destroyed, so I'm not quite sure where it stands.
It is a deck that requires practice to play well. It's not necessarily a deck that you can just pick up and go, oh, this is doing well, so I'm going to play it. There's a lot of triggers and a lot of things you got to remember. Remember to dredge every single time, or maybe not every single time, but when you need to, like exactly when you need to.
It's super odd too when you just have to you have to make sure you put a stop on their second main phase, so when you get your prize amalgams, like they can come back on your turn and not their.
Right. I played against it twice today, just in the weekly that John was talking about, and I think in both matches, I'm not sure exactly which games in each match, my opponent proclaimed to me that they had misplayed that game, and either they missed a trigger or they drew a card or didn't dredge, whatever it might have been, but both of them separately told me that they had missed something that they should have done, and I can imagine why. It's just, between Bloodghast, Narcomoeba, the dredges, it's just literally every card is a trigger.
The amount of cards too.
Yeah.
Bridge from below, if you're
go
playing the
through
bridges.
Sure.
You go through a lot of cards. I think that it's beatable even with Cathartic Greed, especially since after these results, I'm pretty sure people are going to be packing in more Graveyard Hate.
Mm-hmm. Well,
but the problem. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, I think one of the reasons why the Jeskai Flash deck did so well is because they were playing 3 Rest in Peace in their sideboard, and this is also a deck that's playing 4 Snapcaster Mage, so they're sacrificing their own synergies and things that they can do in order to fight these hyperlinear decks, and I think that's actually where fair decks actually just need to be. You might have to host
in those
yourself
matchups, they probably just board out 3 Snapcasters for the 3 Rest in Peace.
Yeah,
I can definitely see that.
That also seems fine, yeah, but it's just, you have to have the hate. You got to pack it, otherwise you're just asking to get burned.
Also, the thing is that is issue. That's a world we live in. Like Patrick Sullivan says,
it's where modern
is. What modern is when you pack a couple more Rest in Pieces, you don't have 2 more Restories for the burn matchup. You take out those Restories, and you don't have a Blessed Alliance to fight Infect.
You cut your Stony Silences, and then you get paired against Affinity.
Yeah. So it's sort of a day-to-day thing. It's just the format we live in. We have a lot of linear decks where maybe you will see through the next couple of sets, or maybe Wizards of the Coast might step in again. But 11 burn decks, and like I said, this is a deck that a couple of other people on our team went on, and it was good for day 2ing, but it wasn't exactly for getting the top 8, because basically none of those 11 pilots got into the top 8.
Mm-hmm. If you look at the top 8, you have Bant Spirits, Ad Nauseam, Dredge, Titan Shift, Affinity, Jeskai Flash, Zoo, and Dredge. And I see a few matchups in there that are just very hostile to burn anyway.
And the other ones are all 50-50.
Exactly. Ad Nauseam is just they play burn hosers as their combo pieces. Titan Shift can just race you. Affinity is also just
that's abysmal.
Yeah,
you're not beating it.
It depends. Yeah, but Jeskai Flash, Jeskai always has the ability to just beat burn. Bant Spirits, I don't know. I don't have his sideboard pulled up, but he's in all the right colors for being able to disrupt burn as well. So it just seems very hostile.
Queller's probably really good tempo against burn.
Exactly, it just hits you every turn after that as well. I definitely this mix of decks hostile to burn in the top 8.
So now we get to the top 8. And the top 8 was Bant Spirits, Ad Nauseam, Dredge, Titan Shift, Affinity, Jeskai Flash, Zoo, and another Dredge player, and it was Bant Spirits that got to win the whole thing. So congratulations to Caleb. I have nothing really to say. I actually haven't watched much of the VODs, but I know that we have a couple people who were very interested at the top 8.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So it was a cocoa-fueled tribal deck.
What are you talking about first?
Well,
Bant Spirits.
Yeah, Bant Spirits. Sorry. Should probably make that clear first. It was a Coco like Collected Company field tribal deck with tempo based like creature beatdowns, which is why I say maybe it was pretty favored against Burn, just because a lot of the times the key to beating Burn is not to control their board, but just tempo them out. You have stuff like synergies with Steel of the Godhead and Geist of St. Triumph, which I love. I think that's super, super cool.
The random like common like aura from back in the janky days, like
Yeah. The problem with Geist is that he's just he gets outclassed in combat now. Just these days in Modern, people just block him all day. But making him unblockable is just like unblockable, and then he's also got hexproof just naturally. It's just you have to have a sweeper to kill him at that point. I think.
+2 as well.
Yeah, and just so good. Yeah.
I was
So-
surprised that Affinity didn't get, or Infect didn't have anything in the top 8.
That's also something.
That's another one, just like same as Burn. It's just really good for getting the deep run, but you run into the people who were prepared for those matchups.
Wasn't Bantel Eldrazi like 4 main board engineered explosives?
It was like something like
3 or 4.
Yeah, 2 to 3, but maybe they'll go up to 4 now. But man, like you think,
And I'm sure not everybody playing Band Eldrazi pulled the trigger on that either.
I mean, mixing that with Ancient Stirrings in that deck is like the stupidest cantrip ever.
we actually see why like Affinity can or not Affinity. In fact, Lots can lose to Dredge. I saw it today. One of my buddies, Josh, he like Dark Blasted his main board of Dryad Arbor, and then like dredged it, and then it was like Ancient Grudge, and then he has his Dark Blast back in his hand. It's like you
Very hard to lose.
what do?
Yeah. I know, and even like, if I remember correctly, some lists were shaving the Dark Blast just because they're the most underwhelming dredge piece.
Mhm.
But in a meta full of Infect and Elves,
Glistener
and,
Elf.
yeah,
and-
just get them with that card, man. Just,
Absolutely. You just got to jam it.
So yeah, getting back to Band Spirit. So he's Collected Company. He had some things on sideboard like Rock's War Monk.
which is not a spirit, but is also a sweet card. It's just
3/4 with life.
I think he had 2 Kasali that were not of the tribe.
Nope. It's 4 Noble Hierarch main board as well, which upsets
Was
me.
the deck
but-
playing Cavern of Souls?
Yes.
Okay.
a single cavern.
A single cavern.
Okay.
Yeah, you should have just played Knight of the Relic where you can fetch it up.
At that point, you can just play like
Seems great. Just
Voice of Resurgence. You know?
I'm actually like with this deck list. Like I know our teammate Thomas has most of Spirits, so I'm tempted.
He
to
tried
pick it
when
up.
Rattle Chains and the whole slew of spirits came out in Shadows and Eldritch Moon. He really tried to get Esper spirits to work, featuring like Inquisition, like the discard suite and stuff like that.
Lily, maybe.
Lilies, yeah. It was good. I really think with like stuff like Noble Hierarch, when you start cranking your cards out a turn early, that's probably where you want to be.
Right. Just like spell coloring
On 2,
like just wait quick.
Coco on 3.
Yeah.
Just it's good.
I also saw that he had the combo of what's the Spirit Lord from Innistrad Block?
A Drog Skull Captain.
Yeah, he had the combo of like Collected Company into 2 of those. All of your spirits have hexproof and +2/+2 or something.
Well,
like
he
that.
also
So
put some
good.
redundancy with that because he had Phantasmal Image, and
Yeah.
Phantasmal Image can just name. So
It's
it's not
yeah,
a
it's very.
target
I will say
effect.
the deck seemed really good when it could steer the game to a point where it was creature versus creatures.
Yes.
Like there was one match where he played against Bant Eldrazi, and I mean obviously that's a creature based deck, and I think Bant Spirits does have the tools necessary to like maneuver through a field like that. I'm not sure that I understand he beat Ad Nauseam in the finals, but I'm not sure that's a favorable matchup.
It was kind of iffy too. There was a lot of things where he could have closed out a little earlier.
Yeah, sure.
It feels like a deck that you have to be comfortable with, and you're gonna win on a lot tighter margins than
Sure.
you initially will think.
There's also like oh man, I can't remember the guy's name, but he top 8'd a big open or something with slivers, and a lot of it
Adam Bowman.
yeah, a lot of his success people attributed to him being like playing a rogue deck or an unknown deck. And I do wonder if that's kind of the same
Sure,
situation
people
here.
weren't-
Not to distract from his victory at all, but
Well, they could have.
people don't really know what Drawskull Captain
They
does.
could've actually
I'll
seen
admit,
him.
I would have had to have read Drugskill Captain.
I
haven't played Modern
actually kind of
enough to-
knew about this deck because he was had it.
Streams it?
Yeah,
Sure,
on his.
Yeah, I'm sure he's been brewing quite a while.
on his
with that.
Yeah.
channel Fireball. So on sixth place we had Jeskai Flash. Indifferent to this, but Cole had some things to talk about.
Yeah, so it's basically just Jeskai control or tempo with flash creatures. You got Spell Queller, Aven Mind Sensor, which I really, really like in this deck. Just randomly host some people. Snapcaster Mage and Vendilion Click. You also have Geist, which doesn't really synergize with what you're doing, but closes the game out very, very fast. Also, what I thought was a notable inclusion, or I guess something they didn't include, was not playing Restoration Angel. Because I see in these lists a lot, people play Resto as just a good flash creature. But I can also see that if he wasn't playing, maybe he just thought it wouldn't be as good without like the Kiki combo or something like that.
Also of note, the
So
most
these-
of the Restoration Angel decks as of late have played stuff like alongside Birds of Paradise or Noble Hierarch, where you can like, I mean, granted, obviously, Jeskai decks of the past have played, the Kiki and Resto combos, but I think powering it out a turn early is just with Resto where you should be. If you're just straight blue white red, I think keeping it lower to the ground with like Spell Queller and Vendilion Click is
Right. Other than that, though, it was just like your typical win conditions with Jeskai as well. Celestial Colonnade and Bolt, Snap Bolt, Burn Spells, and the good
Glorified
stuff.
Burn.
glorified burn.
Basically just a burn deck, right?
So yeah, that was the metagame breakdown. So what will I say for you if you're gonna be going to a local event, a big event?
Just be fast.
Just be fast. Greg says be proactive. I will say be proactive, and also you just gotta have to balance it out. You just gotta find with your 15 card sideboard, like identify what's your bad matchup. Treat it as a 75, and like look and see.
Start your best 60, yeah.
And just like, what can I do against Dredge? What's my win condition? How am I gonna beat this? And if you need to put 4 Grafdigger's Cage to beat it, realize that okay,
Or Rest in Peace in a deck that uses your graveyard. Like sometimes you
Right.
have to make concessions.
I have to do this, but what else am I losing out to? Because there's a lot of other linear decks right now. So,
One other thought I had too before we kind of turn the page on this is what happened to Bant Eldrazi?
Battle Drowsy, I mean, it was still there. There's
Yeah,
still
it was-
three,
there's three
but
Day
I think
two.
I think it was like the boogeyman of the format
Yeah,
for
for
a little
for yeah
2 months.
People I guess in the same way that Tron was the boogeyman when Twin got banned, in the sense that people were very afraid of it, but it never. I mean, it didn't put 11 copies into day 2 like Dredge did.
Right.
It wasn't ever the strong arm that people expected it to be. That being said, I think the deck is fantastic.
No, it's so good.
Thought Not
Still
Seer is
great choice, yeah.
an insane Magic card.
I was just expecting, because the last SCG coverage I watched, it felt like there was just Bant Eldrazi
Sure.
everywhere.
Every round,
So, so I skipped a lot of those videos. But very, very different. I guess Dredge is now in that kind of spot.
But Dredge is an interesting matchup. I don't think it should be too hard. I mean, especially since we're readjusting our sideboards, but being able to cantrip with Ancient Stirrings into Grafdigger's Cage, that helps out a lot.
Banter, yeah.
You know what I think would be... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask. I mean, is there a deck to beat right now? Would you say?
Dredge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if people go back to the black-white processor Eldrazi and just, hose Dredge
gosh.
all day long?
Yeah.
With,
Main board Relic of Progenitor.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's
And
go,
then
That
boys.
was hilarious.
the other one, too.
Wasteland Strangle
Yeah.
your Narcomoeba.
Oh dear.
And pop your relic that same turn.
Yeah.
You're not getting that back.
I think that Battle Drowsy will settle just some. It'll still be top tier. I'd still say it's top tier, 3. And
Oh, yeah.
Cell 71 still pretty good, and even though it wasn't oppressively good, it's still pretty decent. So our tournament report. What we're going to be talking about is how we got there and everything about Milwaukee. So we ended up taking 8 members, I want to say. Let's see here. I gotta name them out here. Jordan, Greg, Darian, Jake, myself, Aaron, Thomas,
Al.
Al.
Yep.
Everyone
Eight
but
of
me.
us.
8. So we ended up taking up 3 cars. Actually, Darian and Greg went up earlier than the rest of us to Jake's, and then went to the tournament because they had one extra day up in that area to just do whatever.
We love Jake enough that we'll drive 6 hours out of our way
Out of the way to get
to get him. Well, I mean, we made him drive the rest of the trip, so it was fine.
We don't love him enough to not make him drive, but
Well, he does what you say, right? It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
honestly.
Apparently he loves driving because on the way down to Dallas, I tried a couple times. He's like, "Hey man, I could drive," and he's like, "No." Just like, all right, fine, I guess. So
I think he did all of the driving while we were in Dallas as well. For
Yeah, I mean, which is not usually saying much, but when your hotel's an hour away from the tournament center, Greg,
yeah,
then it's a little bit more driving than normal.
yeah. A little word of advice: if you guys plan on going to any large tournaments that you
GP
plan on
Dallas.
traveling for, I would recommend checking how far away from the tournaments at your hotel is
Granted-
before you book the hotel.
Granted, I was okay with it because it was probably the nicest hotel we could have gotten, 24-hour pool,
yeah.
but every morning when we had to wake up an hour early to drive an hour, it wasn't the funnest.
Yeah, but did they have continental breakfast?
They did they had 0 breakfast in the morning.
You know that just leave, just
Yeah,
not
and
even-
to use
just sleep in
their
your car.
Although we did look at each other at 12:40 in the morning and decide that the hot tub was what we needed then.
Oh,
And that was available.
oh no,
I was the
I
only
was
one-
passed out.
yeah. I mean, I was the only one that chose it. We were at Milwaukee. Me, Jake, and Greg were sitting down for breakfast, and I'm like, all right, the breakfast is good, but I would take a
The pool.
24-hour outside hot tub and pool. And they both were like, oh, absolutely not. So I stand alone on that, I guess.
I mean, free bacon, man. I put more.
We could get a website, take a poll. Breakfast or 24-hour pool?
Why not breakfast in the pool?
There we go.
Dude, we just gotta
Yeah.
find both. We could just make a hotel chain. Cut the podcast. We'll just do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Here's John getting us back on track.
So Thomas, Aaron, and myself go up in our separate vehicles, and so did Al and Casey. And we actually, this is something I would personally regret, but we didn't really get that much time for in-house testing. I know that they, Greg, Darian, and Jake at the hotel had Gauntlet, and they did some testing, and some
A lot.
weird things came up, actually. Because we were driving up, we were independent. So, when we get to our deck primer about red, white, burn, I was actually first on the red, white, burn splash, but mine was splash green. But I came with that up independently, but then later on, Greg changed from his deck and his second choice Little Zoo to red, white, burn due to the testing. Can you guys sort of describe what happened during that testing?
Yeah, it actually wasn't even entirely because of testing burn per se. Darian was at my house late one night, and I had been playing Red Green Zoo, and we got off. We actually went over to play Overwatch, and
I look at him.
I don't remember what I said, but Darian just out of nowhere was like, "Are you sure you shouldn't just play burn?"
And he's like, oh, well,
Yeah, I could do that.
Actually, yeah, maybe we should do it. Maybe I
So I
should do
played
that.
Burn. Yeah, the deck felt great. Still feels great. I've been on it, for the whole 7 days that it's been since the tournament. But that conversation took place probably 4 or 5 nights before we left for Milwaukee.
About 3 a.m. It's when we make our most pivotal decisions.
Yep,
So
as anybody should.
Crucial decisions.
That's one thing I'd bring up probably for next time, our next big event. We should probably come up with a better methodology for in-house testing. It kind of went to the wayside because everyone got confused. Not confused.
I will say that
just-
last minute in-house testing was very beneficial. I had faltered in my faith in the Lava Spike and thought that Naya Company might be where I want to be again, and that proved to be wrong. So I sold the entire deck at the tournament site.
I would say to John's point, though, when it comes to in-house testing, me and Greg and Jake, it's probably like our 4th or 5th Open/GP where we're starting to realize getting there and having the whole next day of no tournament, no need to do anything, is probably be the best
Most
place you want to
beneficial.
be. You don't want to be driving up, getting there at 11 or midnight where you have the tournament the next day. Just because your mind's clear, you can think about decks, you can test, and I think the biggest thing is you don't feel scrambled. You don't feel like, well, I got to create a sideboard guide. I don't have to buy new sleeves, get new, like, you just feel a lot more comfortable for the next day.
I I remember because I was on Abzan Company, and I was just like, I felt pretty good on that day, and I just ran with it, and
Down
failed.
in Dallas.
Down in Dallas.
Yeah, down in Dallas, and failed 2 consecutive win-ins, but in any case, so
Cletus is good.
we got to the tournament site, and it was Wisconsin Center, and oh my goodness, I thought the Dallas one was pretty cool. I don't know about you guys, I loved the Wisconsin Center.
I feel like the Dallas one was bigger, though. Am I wrong? I feel
I
like
think the
Dallas.
Dallas one might be bigger because
Yeah.
it was part of a stadium.
Yeah,
like
sure.
it was in a
I
stadium.
think we rivaled a GP that was the same day over in, like, I don't know, Hong Kong.
Whatever, yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, mass quantity is not what determines if it's cooler or not. I know.
I just liked the Wisconsin Center,
Sure.
especially since we
I
were
agree.
in a stadium.
It was-
Yeah, it was,
was-
it was carpeted. It was probably a better airflow.
It was very spread out. The bathrooms, like they have enough bathrooms that never really got crowded. The drinking fountains were always pretty available.
Food wasn't the easiest to get. I mean, everything closed at like 6, which kind of blew my mind, but on a Saturday night. But I would agree. I think the tournament center itself was a better venue.
And we got to 800 some players.
805, I think.
805.
805.
But it was still a cut to 7-2. So
Rough beats.
rough beats. So we're gonna go through a little bit of how we did. I'll go first and let the other two sort of catch up with me. So I ended up going 5-4. Not great, but not terrible. But the only thing that I wanted to do that tournament is not like just like do absolutely the worst. Like especially since coming off like Dallas when I was super close to getting to day 2, and now that I realize how high that bar was, now I'm actually like annoyed by that. At the time, I was like, whatever, it happens.
I was actually surprised. I remember the conversation. Me, Jake, and Darian had already set up our plans to go to Dallas, and we were at an F&M in Omaha, Nebraska. And after the F&M, maybe 1:30 or 2 in the morning, we were at an IHOP, and I just asked John. I said, "John, you should go to Dallas with us." Like 3 weeks before the tournament, and he was like, "Well, okay," and then just kind of ran the tables and did very well at the tournament.
Man, I don't remember that, but I believe you.
No, you weren't there.
You were there.
Oh, what? I
Yeah.
thought you said I was there. Okay.
Well, we were. I remember that too because it was like the longest and most drawn out conversation of like I want to have chicken and I want to have waffles, but I want to have them separately. And like Greg's making a face
As
here.
Greg's like rubbing his bridge of his nose.
Yeah, this was Jake.
I'm not gonna get into this. Jake, it's just wrong.
It's just wrong.
I don't know. I'm a fan of mixing the chicken with the waffles.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
on-
how you're supposed to do it.
No,
right?
I'm on
And you
Jake's
put the
side.
syrup on it and hot sauce if you need.
Jake,
It's all yeah.
Jake's listening to this right now. Jake, I agree with you. You get a separate plate. You put your chicken on it. You eat your waffles because they're waffles. And then, hey, look at this. I have some chicken now.
I haven't actually ate chicken and waffles, so I'm indifferent. I'll try it at
It's
least.
chicken
I'm not
and
gonna-
waffles, not chicken with waffles, Greg. I'll leave it at that.
So, round 1, I won in the mirror match versus Burn, which, having Red White Burn came up nicely against.
So do you want to talk about your build? You did not play Nakatl, but you did have the green splash for a Tarkus command
Tarkus Command and Destructive Revelry.
in the sideboard.
Because I felt at the time, and I still feel like it, that a Tarkus Command it does end up doing more than 3 damage. Because
absolutely.
You can give it your creatures +1/+1.
There was that game that we played on Friday when I was on Little Zoo, and then I had lethal if you didn't also have lethal, and then you just like had 2 Swiss Spears and you were like Darkest Command, flop strike you or something, and you're just like you're super dead. You should have left your blockers open.
It,
I was
it
like, yeah,
gives
you're
you
right.
a little bit of power. Round 2, I lost against Affinity, and round 3, I lost against Merfolk. And then I took my third loss of the day, so basically it meant I couldn't, that was it. And that was against Esper Control. But then, so it's like, at that point I could have dropped and do some modern, the modern challenges, that's like their modern side event, and I decided I'll just stick it with it. And so I won the next round against Breach. Round 6, I went against the lone Jeskai control player. And then I went against round 7. I got to play against Al, actually. Al had a good start, but then he just started faltered off, and I beat him pretty handily. And then round 8, I beat a Death Shadow, and finished off with a win in round 9. So I went 5-4, and I picked up a few of my wins at the end of the tournament, which isn't great, but overall, I can't say I can't complain about it. I didn't feel like I played especially bad. Just like was just missing 1 or 2 tools at the time to win. And obviously, at the time, it feels frustrating. It's like, if I could have just drawn another card, if this sequence could have gone differently. But it's just deck variance, and I've listened to a podcast with limited resources and L3 talking, and you just end up you just grind out hundreds of games, and all those games, there's just a variance on your side and variance on your opponent's side, and you're just gonna have to deal with it. Sometimes you'll just win games that you were not supposed to. You just went runner, lava spike. You had no you were not supposed to win that game, and just variance ends up going in your favor. And during this weekend of Milwaukee, it just didn't end up being that way. And you know what? I'm okay with that. That just happens. That's part of Magic. But 5-4, respectable record.
Well, hey, if you're playing Call of Duty too and you're 5-4, you're still positive KD. You gotta think of it that way.
All right, and then Darian, how did you do during the tournament? I actually don't remember what your final results were.
Well, I think I went 3-3-1, and then unlike John, I just
Dropped.
Also, unlike John, I don't have my phone that gives me every matchup I had. I know I started against Mardu Control, something that Jake has been on for a little bit.
What deck were you on?
Oh, sorry, Grixis Delver. It's pretty much Kevin Jones's list, except for I talked to him, and after a couple of his tweaks, he took out the 9th fetch and what's the blue-black fast land?
Dark Slick Shores.
There we go. He took those 2 out to play the 2 new red-blue fast land.
Spire Bluff Canal.
There we go. So I started out against Mardu Control. Didn't fare too well because it went turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Inquisition, Thoughtseize, turn 3 Lily. And when you don't have any cards in hand and Treasure Cruise is banned, you're not going to win that game. And then I had the pleasure of playing back-to-back Lantern matches, which...
Just the worst.
Yeah, the worst. I drew round 2, and then I beat it round 3. Lost to Living End, and then beat the Mirror and Black-White Humans. So, but yeah, kind of like John, at some point you realize what is going to make day 2, and not that you run out of the ability to want to win or continue to play, but it's kind of like, well, I'm out. There are still people on our team that's in the running for it, so I had the pleasure to kind of see if Greg was going to make day 2 with Burn.
Spoiler, I didn't.
But what Darian is saying though is you could just do other things. I kind of advocate just play out all your rounds just so you can get the experience. We went up there to do it, but for people who just drop out, I totally get it, because you could do the side events, which are there's modern, there's drafting, there's all sorts of cool events you could have done, and the side event for the modern challenges and the daily challenges, they pay out pretty well.
Yeah.
Like,
I think you can get a box. I mean,
if
off
you
your
4-0,
entry,
yeah.
So, I mean,
And the
it's
entry's like 20.
$20. Yep.
So it's pretty flat, and so you could draft, like, on fire drafting, so...
There's commander pods too. Like there's a whole bunch of different
There's
stuff.
yeah. If you think it, they'll have it.
It's
Or you can also just, watch other people. Like,
Yeah.
you get to relax the rest of the day, so...
Yep. Surprisingly enough, I mean, back-to-back Lantern, I don't want to build the deck. I don't want to play the deck. It's
Too late, you gotta play against Thomas one day.
oh man, it was not fun to play against. Like as soon as turn one, they were like, I don't even know. Maybe they have a discard spell, and then they just play the Lantern Event Site. You just sink in your chair, and you're like, oh man, again. And then you draw Vandal Blast, and you're fine. So that's how that ended up.
My favorite moment with Tactical Vin, some guy was playing against Lantern Control, and he was like, you could just stare at the card longingly, could be
top
good
of your
in your
deck.
deck. Yeah, could be good, but just on top.
It's like if I untap fast enough, maybe he won't mill.
I will say though, round 2 against Lantern, when we came up with the draw, he wanted me to concede because there was maybe a good 15 or so cards in my deck. I had K Command in hand, but to his point, he was able to get it back with his
Academy Ruins.
Academy Ruins, and in the moment, I was like, okay, well, a draw is going to get me a point, and there is a chance that 6-2-1 does day 2. At the end of the day, it didn't. But I probably, looking back on it, should have took that loss because early in a tournament, a piece of advice is don't get into a draw bracket because what
That's
happens?
where the Lantern players are.
That's where you then play
Oh,
against
no.
Lantern again. You play against Tron. You play against control decks sometimes, but
That happened actually to Jake, well, not again, but previously to our buddy Jake.
Yeah.
He took one against Blue Moon, and it was just he played more Blue
He was
Moon.
on
And then
on
he
Jess
played-
Guy. This
yeah.
was in Dallas, yeah.
yep.
And sure enough, he was the highest ranking player that did not make day 2 in that tournament.
And then and then he went and played Tron. But I mean, not even a slow deck, you might encounter a player that's not the fastest of players. That's what my other Lantern player was. He was just someone that, I mean, nothing wrong with it, but taking thought out decisions, which at that point you're playing it even faster. So it wasn't a good start to a tournament that you want to have. But
I will say that I don't play much against Lantern, but I will know that losing to Tron is probably another demoralizing way to lose the game because it'll just stone rain you.
oh, Tron has to be the worst.
Ulamog, double stone.
No. Turn 3 Karn and turn 4 Ulamog.
Yeah.
That's probably the worst.
We were doing a challenge in Dallas, and I kid you not, I literally ended the game. It was turn 6,
Actual 0 percent.
actual 0 permanents. Killed all 3 of my lands, killed my Geist, took my Snapcaster out, and after the game, I mean, you don't have to scoop up cards at that point, but there's no other point you want to get out of a match fast.
Even if Darian wanted to scoop, he could not because he had no permanence
you,
to scoop
you
up.
scoop your graveyard at that point, and there's not a moment in Magic that you just don't want anybody to be watching
I
you.
want to scoop, but I physically can't.
Oh dear.
Oh, it was, yeah, that was
There's a few other people that are on our team.
hashtag
Wow.
Bantron.
Al didn't do too well. He was on Blood Moon Jund, and he told us a couple times where Blood Moon just didn't really help him. Sometimes it did. I'm not an advocate for Blood Moon Jund. You have to build a deck in such a weird way at that point.
I think if you're going to be playing Blood Moon as a quote-unquote proactive way to win the game, you should A, be playing Simian Spirit Guide, and B, maybe even be playing Desperate Ritual and Pyretic Ritual to
And then 3.
cheat out the turn 1 Blood Moon and then into Chalice and the Sun and Moon deck Todd Stevens had, I think, is
Make it a whole kit.
just make it a whole kit.
Yeah, go half and half on that one.
You're
And
gonna prison it up.
Casey did traditional Jund. He went 3-3, just immediately dropped. Our buddy Jake, he went something
5-3 when he dropped.
He was pretty. It was
I
pretty
think-
stellar. Yeah, I think he had pretty much.
4-3 maybe.
Mhm.
Sure.
Yeah.
Had a pretty good record, but just
Also played Grixis Delver, same list as Darian.
We had one card off in the main. He played the Sunken... no,
Dark Slick.
The Dark Slick, and I played a Sulphur Falls.
So, he didn't do too bad, but he just didn't want to be like 6-3 and just be like, oh well, I still didn't get there. But
Yeah.
let's see here. Who else? Thomas was on Tesserator and
Rattled off the 4 and 5.
The-
with
Oh, man, he
The-
like started 1-4, was it?
Yeah, he was a fortunate series. He was like on there's tables and there's like the 200 table and the 100 tables and whatnot, and that's how you sequence it out. And then like the 600 and 700 and 800 tables are meant for the side events. He was in like the 400 like 300 tables like almost the entirety of the tournament.
I think Thomas may have had the most
Depressing victory.
the highest moral victory of anybody at the tournament. Shortly, I'm not sure if it was on the drive up there or what, but Thomas had decided to play a main board Grafdigger's Cage, and round 1, game 1, his opponent starts with turn 1 Insolent Neonate.
Only
Passes
one
turn.
deck.
Yeah, passes turn, and Thomas responds with his Darksteel Citadel into Grafdigger's Cage pass. And I cannot imagine a better feeling in the entire game of Magic.
I think the next thing out of that guy's mouth that he played was Judge.
Yeah, had to have been.
Like,
Just the
is this main
instant
board?
Judge call.
Oh dear. He also he can better explain the story, but apparently he like killed a guy with like a blood gas with.
Greg's
Greg
chomping at the
Greg
bit
had
to
the
tell
story better because I might try to fumble my way through it. Do you actually know?
Yeah, I'm fairly sure what happened was he had played Ashiok in the deck, in his Tesserator deck, had exiled a Bloodghast off of his opponent's library. His opponent was at 3. He minused his Ashiok to bring Bloodghast back. Bloodghast has haste, equips Sword of the Meek to it, get you for 3.
You're welcome, Tom. Totally my idea to play Ashiok.
Oh my goodness, that
Thomas may have had the best tournament out of all of us.
Second to the guy that won on turn 2 with
Living End.
Living End.
Yeah, another
Apparently-
fabled story.
apparently someone like he just went to crack his fetch because he didn't reveal anything yet, but so he just like fetch, just doing my thing, and he's like, response. I'm gonna try to mind break trap you, and he's like,
Oh, that's fine.
That's completely fine.
just, like,
It's actually a story I'd overheard. And,
Mill's like 11 creatures
Mill-
untapped.
Mill's 11 creatures, and instead of cycling at the end step, the Living End player double Simian Spirit Guides into Cascade, into 20 power on board for my untapped step, into game 2.
So if I can't even give you tips.
Don't play Mill.
Don't
This is probably not the format with like Narcomoeba.deck being where at the top tables. I can't imagine that
pretty
Glimpse
sure-
the Unthinkable is what you want to be casting.
I'm pretty sure Dredge would thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Oh, Dredge 10, thank you.
I think if I played back-to-back Lantern, I was close to getting Mill. I was
If
probably
there was a Mill player at the tournament, you would have found him.
yeah. I don't know who I have to thank for that, but
Oh dear. And so and that just leads 2 other members. Jordan, he's not here today. One day we're going to be talking about Ads and Company. He and myself would be talking because we're both fans of the deck and did very well at local events and at SCG level tournaments. And he was 6-0. He was on going around 6, like at table 1. He was doing super good, but he just needed winning ins and
just one.
just one, and couldn't get there. Super
And the
unfortunate.
luck sack ran out.
I
Yeah.
know, it's super unfortunate, and like I'm thinking like Abzan like Company has to be a cursed deck because now twice now this has happened that like I was 6-1 coming into like the last rounds and he was 6-0. But we just couldn't get there. It's so unfortunate. Like, and that just leaves Greg. So, Greg, you want to talk a little bit about your tournament?
Yeah, I can do that. I tried writing down what I played in each round. I don't remember exactly. I know I started the tournament. I played against Burn. Round 2 was Merfolk. Round 3 was Blue Tron. The next couple matches, I'm not for sure what order I played against them. I also played against Infect, Grixis Delver, Lantern, Burn, and Bant Eldrazi, with my losses being to Merfolk, Infect,
Grixis Delver.
and Grixis Delver was my other loss. The deck felt great. I played Burn for a very long time when I started the format. Last year around Grand Prix Oklahoma City, I cast a Wild Nikotl for the first time on the second day of that tournament, or not in the main Grand Prix. I think it was just like an 8-man or whatever. And I never went back after that. I cast Wild Nikotl for pretty
except
much
for today.
Yeah, pretty much the majority of the
I think
year.
like 10 months.
Up until Darian opened his tired eyes and was like, "You sure you shouldn't play Burn?" And after that, I was back on the Goblin Guide Swiftspear hype train.
All right, so that's actually a great little bridge to our next topic. So Greg went 6-3, and so we're gonna get into a sort of a mini deck tech. We're not gonna break down card by card, but we're gonna give you a general overview of the deck so you understand. Like you could pretty much understand it at that point. But we're gonna talk about that sort of quote unquote team deck of Red White Burn, and it ended up being 11-7. So that's really respectful record between the two of us. And so Red White Burn. So Greg, do you want any opening comments to this?
Sure. I will say, while me and John both did play Burn, I did not have any of the green splash. I played 3 Inspiring Vantage, 2 Sacred Foundry, and 3 Mountains. Absolutely no green in the deck. Which, in the 2 Burn matchups that I played against, proved to be the difference maker. As I believe both of my opponents were playing the green splash. I believe that the Naya version with Nikotl and Atarka's Command has a little more punch. Atarka's Command really ups the number of turn 3 kills that the deck can have. Whereas in the straight red-white build, you kind of have to have like one drop into 1 drop, and then like 3 lava spikes in order to actually achieve the turn 3 kill. And in an uninteractive format, Nikotl might be where you want to be. Dredge isn't really blocking it. Infect, you're kind of just racing. The Burn Mirror is the only place that I can think that you really, really don't want it. And with as much Burn as there was at the tournament, I think Red-White was actually a good call.
Well, I'm gonna say that not in just like in general, like creatures are attacking you. Like most of the people in the tournament are trying to get you from like 20 to 0. I mean, some of them are trying to get you from 0 to 10.
Some are just gonna mill you.
And some are gonna try to mill you.
One turn at a time.
But taking less damage overall does help out a lot in a bunch of matchups.
Yeah.
So, a little primer on the deck. So Burn is been sort of in the format since its exception. It's sort of been on the bottom end of it though, just because it just didn't have the punch to it. They had to play stuff like Hellspark Elemental and like Keldon Marauders, and that wasn't cutting it. But then, very recently, I could say very recently, they printed stuff like Boros Charm,
Eidolon,
Eidolon,
Command, Swiftspear,
Skullcrack, and it just gave the deck a punch, and now here we are today. We see it today as one of the tier 1 decks, and it is a sweet deck in Modern. So,
it's very straightforward.
It's very straightforward in the sense that it's an aggressive deck. I would call it like sort of an aggro combo, because in essence
It's a
what's
critical mass
happened,
combo.
it's a critical mass combo, because you just need, in essence, 7 lava spikes, 21 damage to kill your opponent. But what ends up being is you have other spells like Eidolon that doesn't necessarily do 3, but can end up doing a lot more than 3. Or something like Wild Nikotl, which can be either 0 damage because they immediately bolted it, or 3 damage, or 6 damage, or 9 damage, or something along those lines. Or a lot of times, a lot of these decks just have really painful mana bases. They just have to fetch shock, or they have to do something else, or they fetch Gataxian Probe you. Like
Fetch
they're at
Toxins.
15. Yeah, they're at 15 at that point. The number of critical spells you need right now is just
Is
not
decreasing.
much.
Yeah, it definitely punishes the decks that try to abuse the mana that we get in Modern in Fetch Lands and the Ravnica duels. It also punishes stumbles. Like if your opponent mulligans and keeps a loose hand, they don't really have the time to. They're like, oh man, but if I draw this one card, then this hand it's pretty good. Well, they get 1 or 2 turns to draw that card.
Even if it's a land. Yeah,
Right, yeah.
Say, oh, I have one land and a bird. I mean, I might draw another land, but
And then your
I
bird
have a
gets
bla-
Searing Blazed, and
yeah, I have a
you're
blaze now.
and you're just out.
Yeah, you used to sit there like digging your heels, like Zero Visioning, Sleight of Handing, just like digging and like trying to cobble your hand together. Most of the time, just forget it. Like
You'll just be punished too hard for it.
Did you have something to say, Cole?
Oh, I don't have anything to say. Oh, I was just gonna say.
he played a little bit of the deck as well. so-
Yeah, I've played a bit of Burn. I was just gonna say that exact scenario happened today when I was playing against Al, because he was on Grixis Delver and he had a handful of stuff that would just like
Thought Scour,
ruin
Searing
me.
Visions.
Right, but he couldn't get to the stuff that actually mattered. So every time I was hitting him with the Goblin Guide, he was just like, "Please, please get me to the thing that I need, because if you don't, I will just lose." So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice with Burn. There's a certain turning point of the game where Goblin Guide starts revealing cards that are just not going to save your opponent, and you just kind of know that like with every turn passing, they're just like falling deeper into this hole. Like
yeah,
they're revealing Searing Visions, and it's like that.
nope.
That doesn't matter.
That is one, I think, underrated part of Goblin Guide as a card. Like, it is a downside them getting the reveal, but at the same time, like, you still know what you might be able to. Like,
Yep.
they reveal Kitchen Finks. Like, okay, I know not to use my Skull
Yeah,
Crack
play
now.
around stuff.
You also can
Break
just
things
like
down.
can tell like their deck choices. and
Yeah,
play
if you're on the
around
play, yeah, a lot of times. I mean, not that it's going to change your play very much, but like if you attack in with your Goblin Guide and they reveal Blighted Agent, then you look at your hand and you're like, okay, well I have Bolt and Searing Blaze. Like I know not to just like blow through these.
Not like bolt their face.
Right,
You
yeah.
want to keep it. So let's go to the base of it. Sort of like at the base, there's 12 spells that basically all do the same thing. It's 4 Rift Bolt, 4 Lava Spike, and 4 Lightning Bolts. And Greg considers these untouchables. I'm playing the Call version right now, just testing it out. And I'm cutting 1 Rift Bolt. Heresy, I know, but so what these things do is basically they all generically do 3 damage to the face.
They're
And,
all Lava Spikes or some variation of the card.
Rift Bolt is the one that's the most interesting because Lightning Bolt is just pure efficiency. Rift Bolt is very interesting because you can hardcast it for 3, so it gets around Chalice and some other sort of soft permission. But also when you put it on suspend, I consider that like one of the better ways you can open. If you don't have 1-year 1-drops, if you open up with turn 1 Rift Bolt, it's such a tempo because
Yeah.
once they look at it and they're like, I can't deploy this Glister Elf now because I can't deploy this bird now because I can see it right there. There's a Rift Bolt right there in front of my face.
And they could just untap, even if you wait the next turn to do your thing. You could just untap and double bolt whatever they put next.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, or just Eidolon, get under everything.
Yep.
Yep.
So, the Rift Bolt is probably one of my favorite cards in the deck to have. Then there's the 2 1-drops, Goblin Guide and Monastery Spirit. They're both really basically generic.
Also, so the burn deck is basically just playing all of the best burn spells that we can, and those burn spells happen to be in the form of creatures that can attack on turn 1.
And they both basically they're the most punch for like what they are because they're creatures that can hit multiple times, so you're not using a card for it.
Yep.
So Goblin Guide doing 4.
And then they bolt it, well, that doesn't matter now.
One other factor to consider too is that the creatures are worse top decks later on.
Yeah.
Because if your opponent's at 3 and you top deck a Monastery Spear, you're not going to get there. But they are just so good in the early game that you don't cut them.
My thing is like, don't be afraid after they're done with their usefulness. Like after they do 3 damage or one,
Suicide them.
suicide them, block with them, buy you another turn to get another burn spell. Like, once they did their damage, their use is just, like, let them go. Like, they're basically a burn spell at that point.
Same as every other burn spell. Go to the graveyard once it's done. And
Yeah, I was gonna say because the top of your deck when you're burn, if you're playing the late game, chances are you're drawing a burn spell.
yeah.
Right now, this is pretty universal for most burn decks. Is 4 Searing Blazes right now. Usually, I sometimes had 3, but right now there's a lot of creatures running around. A lot of little creatures.
When the meta was a lot more fair, I was going as low as 2 even, but with
we have Dredge, like always gonna present you a target.
Infect is great.
Mantle Eldrazi.
I think after the twin ban, we had a lot of, and then after that too, the Sword of the Meek and Ancestral unban. I felt like a lot of blue decks running around, so I cut like 1 or 2, but I would never go like to 0.
Right.
It's just so good.
I mean,
like,
so good.
It's
early.
card advantage. It is 2 lightning bolts in 1 card, which
It's
is
6
phenomenal.
damage in 1 card. So, and it just removes threats and it clears your way for your little 1-drop creatures to do the damage they need to do. So Eidolon is another important card. You basically have to play ahead of. Luckily, they're getting pretty cheap right now. I don't know why. They're just dropping in price. But for Eidolon, so what does Eidolon do? And
Power
it's
static pillar.
Yep.
yeah, when
a
you
grizzly
play it, if they're behind on the life total, it just puts so much pressure on them. And if they don't immediately kill it, you're just not. No, you're not completely boned, but you're pretty close to being boned.
If they're behind on board when Eidolon lands, it immediately frees up your other creatures because they're not going to bolt your Goblin Guide with the Eidolon out. So your other creatures are then quote unquote protected, as well as it's not as popular now as we said earlier with the blue decks kind of dwindling, but counterspells just become almost trash in the face of Eidolon.
It's like your own Voice of Resurgence.
Yeah, it's just too much punch packed into one card sometimes.
It also helps out in a lot of matchups that is not generally favorable to burn, but then once you land it, it sort of just like hoses them. Like I've seen games where burn just wins against ad nauseum. Typically a bad matchup, but they just don't have the pieces and they have to dig, and they basically play like no removal main board.
Storm
it's
is
just more
much
slap
the
back.
same.
Yeah.
Where normally, your lava spikes are not. You're probably not going to race Storm.
No, it's
But with Eidolon, they actually can't beat the card.
Storm is considered a terrible matchup, or like Burn is great against Storm, and it's only because of Eidolon.
Yeah.
If you don't have hands with Eidolon, they just beat you. Like
We have
you
a-
get to turn 3 or 4 and they just win.
We have a local player who's pretty notorious for playing blue-red deck, and most of the time it is Storm. And I was sitting next to Darian one time at an F&M, and I mulled to 6, and my opening hand was 5 I think it was 4 lands and 2 Eidolons, and I snapped it. It was and I won the game. It's just it's too much for some decks that. And again, it's the same thing as like if you're spinning your tires with Thought Scours and Serum Visions, then
You're being Boros Charm.
then you're not winning the game.
Nope.
Yeah, moving on. You just have some really efficient stuff like Boros Charm, like Target's Command / Skullcrack, just to deal out life gain. And then Red White gets the luxury of actually having some main board and lightning helixes if you want it.
Yeah, I actually played 3 at the Milwaukee Open, and they were great. I mean, the thing is that a lot of times with Burn, you get your opponent on the back foot, and their only hope is like, okay, well, I have to race. I have to kill them before they kill me, and you resolve 1 lightning helix, and it just blows the race out of the water.
Yep.
I know we were talking about. Were you going back? Would you have tried out Flames of the Blood Hand? Because I know that was one thing you were.
There were a few
What you're
spots in the
thinking
tournament where I do think it would have been good.
The jankiest of our Skullcrack effects we
Yeah.
can potentially
Because
get.
I have seen. I mean,
But
there's
you're
been a couple-
you're in red white, so you don't get a Target
Yeah.
Command. That's not a
Right.
luxury that you can afford.
Yeah,
There's been a couple high placing lists that's gone 4 Skull Crack,
and then 2 flames.
Yeah, 2.
When I first built the deck, I had 2 flames in the sideboard. It's 4 damage. 4 damage for 1 card, that's a great rate. It kind of corner case, but in the Burn Mirror, it can't be Deflecting Palm, which is kind of cool.
Sweet.
not that
More did you
that's-
know?
Yeah.
And then you have stuff like the other thing you'll have is Grim Lavamancer, and it's
Typically a one of.
typically one of, maybe a two of. Did you have it as a two of?
I had
Just
a
one.
Just one.
Yeah.
I would have played two. I played two in that tournament.
And the thing is, it's a lot like Path to Exile, where like it's just very diminishing returns. I played 4 Path in the sideboard, and I know I play all 4, but that's for decks like Death Shadow and Infect. Most of the time, I'm only boarding in 1 or 2 because when you draw the first Lavamancer and it's great. Sometimes it can just get off 4 damage if they've expended their bolts on your other little dorks, your idiots. Then they just can't answer it, and all of a sudden it's done 6 damage that they can't counter. But when you draw the second Grim Lavamancer, it's always pretty rough.
it's just a one
Yeah.
one.
Oh, 1 mana 1/1s are not great.
I had the same blue-red player we're talking about. He played a lot of Delver. I remember when I was on Red White Burn, I opened up turn 1 Grim Lavamancer. He just like looks at it like with death in his eyes, and then pass back to him, and he like spends 30 seconds looking in his hand, and he just goes like fetch a Steam Vents, bolt your Grim Lavamancer, because he's like, no, I'm not like
Can't
letting
play
you
Delver
kill
into
every
it.
single one of my threats.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of like having two, even though that does awkward situation does come up. But Grim Lavamancer is something that you should have at least a one of, just because when it's on the table and after you pass and they pass back to you, once it's active,
It's a must answer.
it's like
Very much.
it's a mini seal fire that they just can't deploy like certain cards into. Like they can't deploy their Malera into. Like if they deploy their Malera for part of their combo, you just like, I can't have that on the battlefield.
It's underwhelming in the matchups where you just want to race, but for everything else, it's
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just pretty
if you're going to be aiming, if you for any reason need to aim something at a creature, it's
Creature and then like face like multiple times like over a course of a game is something like Jeskai control or any hard control,
You
like
can-
blue white control, like over the course of the match deals a bunch of damage.
It's a decent blocker as well, because if you have to kill someone with 3 toughness, you can declare blocks and activate and shoot it, or
block,
if
shoot
sometimes
something
shrink a
else.
Goyf.
exactly,
Shoot
yeah.
something else. Yeah, mess with Goyfs.
Yeah.
Graveyard hate.
I mean, Jun plays it. It's just a good utility card.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we are not gonna break it down card by card, but you get a general sense of you're just playing the best burn spells, and you're playing a bunch of lands, and you're just
To
sort of
facilitate those
just
spells.
facilitate those
Well,
spells.
if you've played Modern, you've probably played against Burn.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you've played Modern, you may be. If you've played
It's a-
Burn, because it's super easy to get into the
And that's a thing that people like make fun of it, because it's like a entry level deck that people are like, oh man, you're just playing Burn, you're just new to the format. But if you play Burn long enough,
There's a lot of play to it.
There's a lot of
Once you get
intricacies.
to the
I at the World Magic Cup qualifier here back in July or June, whenever it was the second to last round, and I was 5-2, or I was X-2, X-1. I was X-1 at that point, and I played against Lee Marino, who ended up going on to win the tournament with Burn, and just I was on Little Zoo at the time, and it felt like he was just always one step ahead. He was just so prolific with the deck that it like, I don't know. It's just kind of he knew what he was doing, and every spell was as efficient as it could possibly be, and that's what really separates the Burn players from the red mages.
yeah.
I feel like you pick up the deck. Like I'm gonna put it up on our page. I'm gonna put it on my deck list, my modified deck list. Now that I gone past the tournament, what I would play, I'd still be splashing the green for Destructive Reveille, but I still think like Bombard's super good. I'll put up Greg's. I'll put up a budget version of between the two lists, because again, it's a great entry level
Yeah.
deck, and but once you get some play to it, you'll win a
I mean,
lot of
I only
games.
play 7 white cards in the main board. Like, I am almost a mono red deck, and the mono red Burn is usually what people gear towards as far as the budget version,
Yeah.
and it's phenomenal.
Yeah,
great.
it's you still just beat people.
Yep.
That's what we're gonna talk a little bit about sideboard cards, but to close before we close out. But I'm just gonna say about Burn. It's like the power level is typically like I will say it's typically low, especially with red white burn. It's even lower than that. So you have pretty low power level, but you have consistency. Basically, every card in the deck does some sort of damage, and you have just tempo. You're just gonna like Greg said earlier, if you know what you're doing with burn and you just play your spells the most efficiently, like your opponents has to have some awkward hands sometimes. Like I know with Ban Eldrazi, like I had super awkward hands of just like I got 3 mana left over because I couldn't spend it all. Burn just like operates on such tight, efficient margins that you just gotta tempo them out.
And by that same token, too, you do just lose by being off by 1 or 2 points of damage, too, which is frustrating, but it also, like, it leaves a lot of room for you to min-max kind of your ability with the deck.
That's
as well.
like the one loss that, like, it's not, like, super frustrating to me. It's just a loss that's like, now I know, I can get better with this deck now.
Yeah.
I missed this, and this. Next time, I know how to deal with it, so.
Yeah, I actually have it written down here. In big letters, Cole has written, Greg, 2 big mistakes.
Well, you told the group chat a little bit ago that you can remember specifically the 2 mistakes that you.
Yeah, so I went 6-3, like I said, at day 1 in Milwaukee, and I can pin 2 of my match losses to what I believe one single play. One being in round 2 against Merfolk. My opponent had developed a board state. This is game 3. He had mulled to 5, and so like, you know, you get the mental fist pump, and then your opponent, like he had, had the turn 1 Aether Vial into like turn 2 Silvergale, and his draw was phenomenal. But there was one turn where I did the math, and he had a Curse Catcher out, and I did the math that if he had 2 Lords, he would kill me exactly. And I suspended a Rift Bolt and played a Goblin Guide instead of playing out a Lightning Helix, assuming that the 2 cards in his hand were not Lords. Yeah, and maybe it's right to hedge that way, but if I had played the Lightning Helix with 1 mana up, I would have gone to 17 life and not died to the double Lords. Maybe then my Rift Bolt would have been too slow. I don't know. It could have been. But could have been anything.
Presumably they did have the double Lords, right?
They did, yes. He had the double Lords and swung for 15. He did the math like 3 times, so like I was sitting there, I was hoping that he was coming up with the wrong number. Like maybe he thought he was 1 short, but he did get there. Another one was against Grixis Delver that was actually my 3rd loss was against Grixis, and we were both top decking, and I had drawn a Searing Blaze, and my opponent drew a Tasigur, and I was at like 17 life. The build that I have takes almost no damage from his lands. It's great, but he had played a Tasigur, and at his end step, I just fired off the Searing Blaze for whatever reason to get 3 damage. And the next turn he drew Young Pyromancer, which is what ended up speeding up his clock.
Yeah,
and ended up. I figured at 17 life I had 4 turns, and I actually, he went Runner, Pyromancer into Snapcaster, and just kind of tempoed me out that way. And if I had had the Searing Blaze for the Young Pyromancer, I might have been able to buy myself another turn, and I believe when the game was over, my opponent was either at 1 or 2 life, and the top deck Burn spell could have got there. That being said, Burn is also a fairly forgiving deck. It has a lot of what I call free win potential, in that if you misplay, sometimes your draw is still just so good that you deal 25 damage to your opponent, and it actually doesn't matter.
Well, you should have done like 27 damage, but I was like, whatever, right? You just. So for your sideboard, you're actually in the probably one of the greatest colors for sideboard. You're in green, you're in red, and you're in white. Both basically the best colors for like sideboard.
Yep.
Like in the format. Right now we have in front of us is Greg's sideboard he's running currently. So we're going to talk about some cards, and then I'm going to talk about some other options you'll have available. So first off, you get to have 4 paths. Most efficient removal. Something that you wouldn't run in the main because it doesn't do any damage. But there's just something that you can't just race. So
A lot of, like a blighted agent. A lot of people will board them in the mirror for Core Firewalker. I am actually a very big fan of not doing that because if you're the person, this actually happened in my first round in Milwaukee. If you're the person that draws 2 Path to Exiles, then you just don't have as much burn as your opponent, and it makes it very difficult to win that game. Yes, sometimes they draw their Core Firewalker and you path it, and the game goes on. But in this specific scenario, my opponent drew 2 Path to Exiles, and I never drew the Core Firewalker, so he was priced into like pathing my Swift Spears, and it just didn't matter. I had more burn.
Plus, it's always a bad idea to ramp the burn player.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to kill them. You're just going to get killed quicker.
Facilitate their kills quicker, yeah. However, that being said, cards like Thought Knot Seer, where you draw the card off its trigger, leaving Blighted Agent, cards that will kill you quicker than you can kill them, Death Shadow, Path to Exile is a necessity.
So, you have 4. What matchups are you bringing all 4 in?
Pretty much just Infect and
Death Shadow.
Death Shadow.
Okay.
Cards or matchups where they need that creature to deal you lethal. I boarded in 3 against Bant Eldrazi, and it was good. I pretty much top decked one to take game 3 away from my opponent, which was RNG, but that's neither here nor there. So maybe against Bant Eldrazi you want more than 2, but like in the Burn Mirror I might board in 1 if I know they have Core Firewalker, but other than that I'm almost never boarding in the full 4.
Next up, we have 2 Wear and Tears. So it's just a split card that you can destroy target artifact or enchantment, and you can fuse it together. This is the red-white replacement for Destructive Revelry, and this is kind of why I still on my list still have the 1 Stomping Ground, because Destructive Revelry deals 2 and does disenchant effect.
Does both.
So it does both, which is really nice. This comes in against obviously Affinity, but it has a lot of random sort of stuff you want to.
I brought it in against Mono Blue Tron, which is fine. It's not great.
I had a lot of success.
Lantern control, even though Lantern you just kill them.
Yeah.
I had a lot of success bringing them in against blue-red, kind of like Delvery kind of decks. Because the sideboard cards they bring in against you are all pretty much always going to be artifacts.
Sure.
And they're like, aha, Daybreak Garnet, and you're like, aha, Terror, and they're like, oh.
I will say I did bring it in against Lantern, and my Lantern opponent had turn 0 Leyline, to which I promptly, I looked at my hand and it was like Swift Spear, Wear Terror, Eidolon, and I was just like, all right, let's go. But I will say that dropping the green splash, Destructive Revelry was the hardest card to let go. That card is phenomenal. It's very good. Wear Terror not doing damage is the reason I only play 2 of them.
I do think splashing for Destructive Revelry 2 can be kind of rough because when you only have the red-white spells like pre-board, fetching the Stomping Ground late or either drawing the Stomping Ground when you don't need it is kind of rough, but
It's just bad mouth.
Yeah.
The other one is the Deflecting Bomb. This one's, again, there's a new piece that Burn got.
Phenomenal.
it's so good.
So next time a source of your choice deals damage to you, prevent that damage. If that damage prevented this way, Deflecting Palm deals that much damage to that controller. So it shuts off lifelink. So if like you're hitting with the Worm Coil, not only do they not gain the life, but you hit them back for 6. That's just game.
Doesn't care about hexproof, doesn't care about protection.
I don't know if this is correct, but I would usually bring this in against Tarmogoyf decks, just because it's usually a Boros Charm or 5 damage. So.
Well, there's a lot of decks you bring against. I would bring it against Burn or small, aggressive decks. Jund. I think just 1 against Jund. You don't want that many, but
It's got the same symptom of Path that it is a very reactive card. That same match against Bant Eldrazi when we were both top decking, he drew a card past turn. I drew a card. It was Deflecting Palm. Both of us had completely empty boards in it, and it was like, I might get damage off this at some point, but I have to actually wait for my opponent to draw a threat to be able to do that. So against Infect, it's
super good against Infect.
It's
stuff
cheaty. It feels dirty
because they're running 4 Blossoming Defense and 4 Vines. Deflecting Palm
doesn't care about that.
They have to have the Spell Pierce.
Also against Death Shadow, they literally cannot do anything about it unless they draw Thoughtseize.
Against Burn, isn't it just another Helix?
Yeah.
It's better.
It's
Sometimes you
better.
snag Boros Charm and it's just a War Leader's Helix. So.
It's better Helix. this is something that most burn decks off on sideboard is core Firewalkers. So it's protection for bread, and whenever a player casts a red spell, you gain 1 life, and it's a 2/2 bear. I actually, obviously, it was like, obviously you bring it against a mirror match, but actually, this is a strategy that I never really bought into, but now that Greg pointed out to me, I've been doing more often. Against decks with red base removal, you sometimes bring this in.
Sure, Grixis, where their removal is Terminate, Lightning Bolt, stuff like that. It's just a threat that's very hard for them to
I
kill.
brought that in against Al on Blood Moon because like he doesn't really get to play like Maelstrom Pulse because he's Blood Mooning people like, and then I just like played it and he's like, well.
I actually got the idea from a very, very inexperienced Burn player a long time ago when Jake was on Splinter Twin. The Burn player brought in Core Firewalker, and I mean, Jake ended up like, after several turns of it being on the field drawing the Splinter Twin, it didn't actually matter. But the value that he had gotten off of it from just being like a 2/2 that Twin couldn't really kill really made me think about it. And, it dodges Terminate, it dodges most damage base removal, so.
Next up is 2 Stony Silences. This one's a little bit odder than I see maybe 1. Mainly people just use Rubbery, but you're red white. And Greg likes to run. If you're running Hate, run the Hades Hate.
Yep.
And Stony Silences is one of Hades Hate.
My thing about like Wear Tear and Destructive Revelry in the Affinity matchup is that like they can draw an Arcbound Ravager and just completely blank your Destructive Revelry. Like, yeah, you'll still kill whatever you aim it at, but you're not getting that 2 through. And it sometimes even just destroy target permanent is not strong enough against them.
They can just draw out of it.
Yeah.
They have a
You
lot
gotta
of
shut
live
the whole
draws.
deck off at that point.
Yeah. That being said, I've never actually drawn Stony Silence against Affinity, so.
hence the 2 copies instead of 1.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 or 0 or 2, so it depends on the pilot. And then the last 2 cards are 2 Rest in Peace, which are just, again, the most hate. And not only do you bring against Dredge, the popular deck we just talked about, I bring it in against stuff like
Storm,
Jund.
Tarmogoyf decks. I mean, there are some decks where, like, buying yourself 2 or 3 extra turns can be better than drawing another burn spell.
Well, basically too, in like Jund and Abzan right now, they're running a lot of these decks are running Grim Flares. So that's
Delirium,
and that's another one that's just like you have a 2/2 like.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I beat Andy today because I resolved the Rest in Peace after he resolved his Tarmogoyf.
Yeah.
It's just really
That's a nice 0-1 you have there.
$150 0-1.
It just destroys people. So some other choices that are available to you that I've seen that I liked. Searing Bloods are more just more Searing Blazes effects.
Sometimes you can have Smash to Smithereens.
Yeah, so
That's what I played.
Mhm.
If you're really looking to spend money in Snaring Bridge, I would say.
That's true. Some of the burn lists have played, namely just the red-white burn list have played
Yeah.
Ensnaring Bridge.
Yeah.
I'm probably wrong, but I really like Exquisite Firecraft.
Oh yeah,
It's a
Exquisite
good card.
It's a
Firecraft,
great topic,
that's
like-
one that I was gonna bring up
Okay.
actually. But I played it a lot more when Jeskai was the top deck in the format,
Well,
and I would just like Jake would just like, oh man, I have this all completely under control, and like Exquisite Firecraft you, and he's like, oh god,
Nothing
why?
you can do to
Yeah.
that. It's just so
It's like why?
I had one turn against Grixis Control where, or one game where it was just turn after turn after turn with top decking. I had an Eidolon in play. He had a Gurmag Angler, so no one was attacking, because if he attacked into me, I would just chump and then ruin him. But he decided to attack, and I just chumped, and then we just let the spells fly. I had, like, casted a Rest in Peace twice because he remanded it. He, like, spell snared something else. And then I just untap and then, like, slam Exquisite Firecraft, and he just shrugs and, like,
Guess I take 4.
yeah. Because I didn't resolve the Rest in Peace.
I
so-
actually did play 2.
I played 2 before.
2 Exquisite Firecrafts in the main board at Grim Reaper,
Oh,
Oklahoma City.
main
Yeah,
board.
because Grixis, that tournament I was actually on Jund Burn because I had been, like, dispelled and spell snared out of so many games. I just wanted as many cards that could dodge counter magic as possible. Load up on 1 mana spells to dodge mana leak, I mean, obviously you need 4 lands, but
Spell snare, all that.
yeah, dodges spell snare, dodges dispel. Exquisite Firecraft is a great option if that's where you need to be. Another good option is Molten Rain. I've played as many as 4 Molten Rains in my sideboard, and I've always been very underwhelmed with the card. But for whatever reason, when I watch other Burn players play and they draw their Molten Rains, it's always phenomenal.
I had the most phenomenal one of all. So it's going back and forth. I beat John game 1 because it's a pretty good matchup against you. So game 2, he came up and he went like hand disruption, and then into Abrupt Decay one of my guys, and then turn 3 he plays Liliana, and I'm like, all right, I'll take whatever. And then I draw. He Abrupt Decayed like something like a Goblin Guide, and I put my Eidolon. And I draw. I was like, okay, well, I don't know why he didn't like down tick, but whatever. He goes and Slaughter Packs it, and I'm like, okay. And then I was like, Molten Rain you. Pass, and he's like, I had 2 lands. you got me. I just like at that point it's like, what was the point?
As someone who's played Burn for a very long time, I've gone very, very far down in the
Molten Rain
Sideboard type.
in the tech. Yeah. I've played singleton copies of Guerrilla Tactics.
Yeah, when you have a deck box of just sideboard options, you
Yeah.
know that you've gone into the option.
I have a backup box of strictly cards that I might play at some point, and it's just in a separate deck box that I keep. Guerrilla Tactics would be for like the Jund matchups. For those that don't know, it's a 2-mana deal 2 damage to target creature or player, I believe, and then if an opponent makes you discard it, it deals 4 damage to their face. And for 0 mana, which is phenomenal if your opponent slams a Lily and upticks, because they're discarding a card, you're dealing 4 damage to them, and they've spent 3 mana.
You could also redirect the 4 to Liliana, couldn't you?
Yeah, and just kill Lily. Typically, we're gonna ignore Lily, but
It
there's some games where
It depends.
Yeah.
I've killed a lot of Lilies in Burn just because
Yep.
every card in your hand is damage.
Right.
Yeah.
See, I remember this card being like a thing in like
10th
the
edition Guerrilla Tactics?
Yeah, no, like a thing in like the old days, because apparently there was a lot more discard back in the
Raven's
old days.
Crime, if that ever makes a comeback.
But
No,
now Guerrilla Tactics is apparently just like so. That is a sort of primer on Red White Burn. So I hope you got some tips.
Do you
and
want to talk
tricks.
about matchups at all?
We could talk about some matchups. So some matchups. Typically with Bird,
You're the aggressor.
You are typically the aggressor. Sometimes it doesn't end up working that way when they play turn 1 Glistener out.
You want to be the aggressor in your matchups
Yes,
at the very
most
least.
I don't know if you guys knew this about control decks, but control decks that play Eidolon of the Great Revel tend to not do very well.
For the most part, you're not like as good as Affinity to like, oh man, I basically win 90% of my game
Of
1
game one,
matchups, but you'll win most of them.
I think in Milwaukee I lost like my first 5 game 1s.
Really?
Yeah.
I actually had the same experience. I think couldn't win game 1, even though game 1's the one that they don't really have that much because they don't have main board life gain that much.
Sure.
So that's why typically game 1 is okay for you, and they still have to fetch shock.
So Infect's typically a good matchup. You get paths and stuff like that sideboard.
You got paths, and also you're just running for lightning bolts.
4 lightning bolts. Rift Bolt can be kind of awkward. Searing Blaze is really good. Eidolon of the Great Revel is a good one. They really just have to fight through it. I can't imagine they want to be dismembering your Eidolon.
Hey man, you do what
Do
you
what you
gotta
gotta
do.
But Affinity is
Hard.
pretty much one of the most uphill battles that you can have as a Burn deck.
They have a painless mana base. They
They go wide, which is very hard for you to deal with.
They have Etch Champion.
Mm-hmm.
They have Archbound Ravager, which can turn things into 4/4s.
Main deck lifelink.
Yeah, that being said, though, sometimes timely lightning bolts can just shut them down.
Yeah.
It just really depends on the draw.
It depends on the draw, but for the most part, you're
Yeah.
not that favorable against it. The green black X decks, you kind of chew up on them, especially Jund. Abzan's a little bit harder because they get stuff like timely reinforcements and
Siege
Siege
Rhino.
Rhino. Not so much these days, but Jund you can chew up on most of the time.
If they resolve a Cletus and they have removal in hand, it's also pretty rough.
Yeah.
I find that Jund, at least in my experience, the Jund player will make the matchup for himself as hard as he wants it to be.
If he's prepared or not.
You have a lot of tools to beat Burn if you're Jund. The problem is how many of them do you want to play?
Sure. I mean, same. That's typically Jund's like take on the format, though.
Exactly,
Is
yeah.
like I'm gonna build the most 50, 60 that I can. That was a lot of numbers in a row there. So the 60 cards that have the most 50 matchups, and then I'm gonna absolutely hate on a certain number of decks with my sideboard.
Yep.
And I just won't lose to those decks. The buys, quote unquote, for Burn include Tron. You almost can't lose to Tron. Sure, they can have like a turn 3 Worm Coil that you're just unprepared for. That's pretty much their path to
A lot of
victory.
times you put them in the spot where they're like just claiming their own artifacts.
Right, yeah. And that's definitely a thing that's happened. Lantern, the story of that matchup at Milwaukee, my opponent round 6 or so was playing Lantern, and I had Lava Spike on top, so he milled it, and I flipped Lightning Helix, and he milled it, and I flipped Skull Crack, and he was like, he had no more rocks to mill with, and he was like, yeah, I guess you have to draw the Skull Crack. And I'm just like,
You're
yeah.
drawing some type of burn.
Yeah.
Or I already told the story, but when I was on Red White Burn, I had a budgety version against Lantern, and he goes, extract one of your fetch lands and Pithing Needle the other one, and I like untap and play an untapped like red white land for my hand, and I'm just like, doesn't matter. All the cards in my deck are red.
They're the
except
same.
for
Yeah.
Dredge, I would consider it's tough, especially since game 1. Obviously, that's why Dredge thrives. You don't have any graveyard hate for it, so you kind of have to race them. And game 2, you have to do the same. You have to race them, but they get Gnaw of the Bone, but you get Rest in the Peace.
If they resolve Knot of the Bone, like and you don't skull crack it, it's just like
But you get
Well,
Rest in
game
the
over.
Peace, so you just generally just have to race it. The good thing is a lot of the creatures just can't block.
Yeah.
So you could just run them through. But sometimes they just get like triple prize amalgam, and you're like, well, what do?
Grixis Delvers generally, or not Grixis Delver, but Grixis
Grixis
variants are
Delver.
generally good matchups. as
Yeah.
well.
I like that matchup. I actually think I don't think it's.
I think
completely
Grixis Delver is a
favorable.
little.
It's
little
a
better
50.
to other variants.
I think it's like 50-50. Well, I mean, even though they have a kind of painful 3-color mana base, it's just like, there's a lot of play to it because they have a lot of counter spells, and this is where you being like experienced burn pilot or not comes up a lot. They're like playing around their mana leaks, their
playing against Al
spells,
today.
or their counter squalls.
Collective brutality.
Okay, like the brutalities.
That's a very good one. But playing against Al today, I basically he had 3 cards in hand and he hadn't cast Mana Leak all game, so I just decided that for the rest of the game I was just gonna play around Mana Leak.
Wait, wasn't
And-
Al on Jund?
No,
No,
that
he
was
was
just
on-
today.
Grixis, okay.
Yeah.
And I asked him after the game, I said, did you have Mana Leak in hand after I killed him? He said, yeah. Every time I cast it, you had 3 mana.
Yep.
Or I could have cast it, you had 3 mana. So it definitely, alluding to John's point, can come down to pilot familiarity. The Burn versus Burn matchup, much to the dismay, or much to the surprise of nobody, is a 50-50 matchup.
I would
well,
say
except for now, if you're
on
playing
red
the red
white-
white.
Well,
if
yeah,
you're on red white,
I
you have an upper hand.
yeah. In Milwaukee, I did go turn 1 Inspiring Vantage, turn 2 Inspiring Vantage, Core Firewalker, and resolved it at 18 life. And
I had a similar experience round 1.
Yeah.
And it was just like, well,
you might get this one.
what do other guy?
Banto
he was like
Eldrazi-
super nice, but he was just like, oh man, what do I do?
The Bant Eldrazi matchup,
I've been on both sides of that matchup, and it's I would say the matchup is overall 50-50, but when someone wins, it's not close.
right? You either get double Reality Smashered, or
They
you
thought-
get your Noble Hierarch Searing Blazed, and you just never you cast a 3/3 for 3, and then you just die.
Yeah, so when either player wins, it's just not even close. Someone just like it's like a touchdown either way. The other two, the other popular ones that we'll talk about, Titan Shift is like kind of like Tron. It's kind of like Tron, but they actually can do something.
They can actually kill you.
they can actually.
They also play like main deck Obstinate Bailoff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So That's a thing, but sometimes they're super awkward and they just sit there and ramp, and like they'll have a hand of ramp and you have Eidolon in the battlefield, and they're like, ha, oh boy. Merfolk, ugh.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the Merfolk matchup because I've been pretty
It's-
50-50 on how good it is.
I think
Very,
Merfolk
very
definitely
weird.
has the upper hand.
It's
They don't take any
The
damage on
thing
the
is,
lands.
is that you get
They're
into
slower.
a position where it's like, okay, I have to like race you kind of, but also,
You have,
You have-
4/4s.
yeah, like it's very weird. They don't take any damage from their lands at all. Honestly, if Merfolk for whatever reason had to play a fetch shock mana base, the matchup would be significantly in Burn's favor, I think. And that's just how close the matchup comes down to. It's just, I mean, they're a critical mass deck and you're a critical mass deck,
Right.
Except if you draw 3 creatures, their creatures just stonewall
Yep.
yours. So
Curse Catcher's also pretty good in the matchup too, especially like Burn is a deck that can keep a lot of one-landers, and you don't really want to, but it happens.
Yep.
So.
Aether Vial just blanks your Eidolon
Oh,
sometimes.
when they like spreading seas or red white land, you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Actual, just a colorless land.
So at that point, actually, this is my sideboard advice. Bring in some destructive properties or rare and tears. Does in general does a stop their unblockability, and also if you could snipe off their turn 1 Aether Vial, like they're so far behind.
I will say, in my matchup against Merfolk this past weekend, playing the Wear Tear over Destructive Revelry, where you can cast for 1 in a colorless, I could cast my Wear Tear through the Spreading Seas, which came in handy in one of the games,
So
and so that proved to be pretty good.
and the rest in general, just against the general field, Burn just gets to be proactive, and that's something you just want to be.
You get to ask the
generally-
questions instead of try to have the answers.
There's that famous quote: "There are no wrong threats, only wrong answers."
Yep,
So,
and that's where Modern's at.
Yeah.
yeah, some people call it unfortunate. I just call it the world we live in.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
People complain about anything.
Yeah, as someone who's only ever played proactive decks, I've never found the fault. You know, if you can't beat them, join them. That's just unfortunately what it boils down to.
Yeah.
You either have to be the proactive deck or face the fact that sometimes you lose to the proactive deck because you drew the wrong answers and they did not draw the wrong threats.
Sometimes you just have like something like a terminate when you have a Boros Charm,
Mhm.
like nice terminate.
Yeah.
But this is a spell.
But you take 4. Untap Rift Bolt you.
Ooh, oh dear. So that is that for our Sir Burn just in general primer and our Milwaukee report. So we talked quite a bit about all the things that you need to know about Burn, and hopefully we will see you next time there's a big SCG event. There's a lot of guys that are just like they got the itch when after what happened. They're like, you know what, I'll run it back again.
I am the absolute master of 6 and 3, and it kills me.
He's got the edge. He wants to get there.
Yeah, I feel like the 7 and 2 has to happen.
And there's also, we also talked about going to the Team GP. I don't know how I feel about that one. There's Team Unified Standard.
Team Unified Modern.
Sorry,
We'll have to figure
Sarah
out
Modern.
the
Sorry.
exact stipulations of that format because
Well, we already figured it out in the group chat, right? Ad nauseum, infect, and
Yeah.
affinity. Yeah.
so
I
obscure
know.
deck, infect. So obscure deck, the best deck, and then a third deck
The
that
second best
doesn't
deck.
overlap. Yeah.
Oh dear, I think that was like my teams because I was like a team of Aaron, myself, and Thomas because Thomas would
If
be
you-
Ad nauseum, and then Aaron on Affinity and I'm on Infect. So I was like, I guess
I'm not sure where all we're posting this. I know it'll be on iTunes, presumably on iTunes.
Yeah.
It'll be on Reddit.
I did want to talk about that real quick. We really appreciate the constructive criticism and feedback we got from Reddit and the other places we posted. This.
Yeah, I thumbed through it. I am on Reddit more than I care to admit on a podcast because I will leave a paper trail and I don't want to be that disappointed in myself, frankly. No, but yeah, we do really enjoy the constructive criticism. If you guys give us input, what decks would you guys play at the Team Unified Modern because that is something that we're looking to get into and hopefully make our first day too. But and then just any criticisms that you guys might have that will make this better for us to make better for you is really where we want to be with that.
And we're always trying to increase audio quality as well. I know we had a lot of problems today, but
We did, yeah.
we're working on it. We're new to this kind of thing, so
So I'm not quite sure what we have for next episodes, but we have quite a few topics that we've been bouncing around and talking about. Eventually,
I think Sunday's a pretty good day for us to. I mean, as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
Sunday's a pretty good day for.
bouncing around talking about like our EDH episode, just because the EDH Commander turns in Commander 2016.
Yeah.
So I know some people are very excited about
itching for that, yeah, absolutely.
Even if
I've
we
kind of
don't-
got the Commander itch going too.
oh yeah. Even if we don't have a full episode on it, just like briefly talking about it, because I want
Right.
to gush about them. There's so many
And
full
then
color.
there's
Nephilim.
also obviously we can continue our sweet decks in modern. There's a lot of diversity in our team, so
Yeah, if you guys have any suggestions as far as decks that you want to hear about, we'd be more than willing to
there's also
scrub out at an event and tell you how it went.
and
with
then
that deck.
there's general stuff that we talked about, stuff like talking about motivation, tournament preparation. We went a little bit into tournament preparation in this one, but maybe just expand that topic. And then we are also talking about around the idea of recording live versus series between members of the team Hold Priority.
Oh, what? That's the first I'm hearing about that.
Oh,
That'd be
really?
great.
Okay, I get to explain this to Greg. Great. I'd love this. Al has a GoPro, and so
Oh, that'd be great.
we're bouncing around with Al and talking about getting some videos, and it would be like a best of 5. They'd be comparable to Star City games, and we're actually having
Okay, but probably not comparable to Star City games because they have like actual pro players.
Yeah.
and,
No, I mean,
good
it would be
equipment.
comparable.
yeah, and like they're not just
Camera
like
crews.
freestyling it on Sunday
Yeah.
afternoons.
Yeah.
Like,
But also, we're gonna have things too. Cole wanted to do it that we would pause our videos and have like the people come in later to be like, all right,
this is why I made this play.
yeah,
I think that'd
because
be great.
Cole's like, oh man, we can't reveal information.
Yeah.
Well, there's
That's
this-
one thing I don't like about the Star City versus
Yeah.
series. They'll just talk
They-
in.
They don't want to reveal the information that they have to the other player because then they'll give them an edge, but they also want to remain like easy to watch.
Right. Yep.
So it's a balance you have to strike.
Otherwise, you're just watching a VOD.
Yep.
I also like how to like if they'll contemplate their like play. I'll just plop down the bird. Like I just go.
Yeah.
like
I would also say too,
no subtlety of all.
something similar to MTG Mudsta is an awesome channel on YouTube that they do Commander gameplay. Something similar to that where there's a very visible view of the game and the cards, and also just like quality narration over it as well. Maybe could be the direction that we go, but we're still kind of figuring that out.
Yep. And like we said, if you guys have any suggestions or if you think any of this would be something that you'd be interested in seeing or hearing, let us know, and we can definitely make it happen.
Probably should have talked about this at the beginning of the episode, but we're not good at this. So
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Hopefully you listen to the end.
We could even have a subsection. What deck should Darian build?
Yeah, that's probably one of the most needed subsections.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So this is John, and this is signing off for Team Whole Priority.